Well, would you look at that? This is Hazel Nut. Comes to us from our friend Dave at Calmwood Creations. I have hazelnut trees growing all over this property, and they produce hazelnuts, and the squirrels love them and the birds love them, but my trees are more like bushes, and this is more like a tree. So I don't know what they got going on down in Oregon, but here in Washington I just got little hazelnut bushes, and the only thing I've ever turned out of them is some flowers, some little wood flowers. I have a video on it. You could watch it if you wanted to. But today we're going to turn this hazelnut into something. I'm not quite sure what. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Wood Shop, howdy. Let's take a little closer look at this piece. The piece is about 11 inches by 10 inches by 3 to 4 inches, depending on where you measure it, in thickness. I'm going to take a rather coarse wire brush and clean all this stuff off of here. I'm going to do that outside the shop with a mask on because I don't want to get that in my lungs. Nasty stuff, nasty. And then I just don't know. Look at it. It could be really cool looking wood. This is I'm afraid a little punky through here. This is nice and hard. The bark appears to be pretty tight in most places, so I'm thinking it'll stay with us. I just don't know quite what to do with this, but I think it's going to be pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is clean all the moss and whatnot off of there. And then I'm going to drill a hole here in the middle for a woodworm screw, get it mounted up on the lathe, and we're going to get to turning this some way or another. I have the piece mounted up on the woodworm screw, and by the way, if you have trouble using your woodworm screw, I have a video just on that. How to use it properly, how to prepare the wood for the woodworm screw. And it's just a short little video. I don't know how long it is. Less than 5 minutes, I'm pretty sure. So you might want to watch that. What I'm going to do here is kind of flatten off the bottom, at least this portion. And I want to upswing everything that hangs outside of that. I want to thin down this edge out here so that when this is setting on a table somewhere and you want to pick it up, because it's kind of big, it's going to be awkward to pick up any other way. You can get your fingers under it. There'll be a space here to get your fingers under, so it'll be easy to pick up. We're going to be turning only at 400 RPM because the piece is out of balance, as you might imagine. We're going to use a 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask, and face shield on. Yeah, pretty punky in some areas. Some areas it's quite nice. I'm going to, because of the condition of the wood, I'm going to put a large recess in here rather than a tenon, because I'm afraid it's just so soft that if I squeeze down on a tenon, it's going to just compress. But by expanding into the recess, there'll be enough surface area that it'll hold a lot better than a tenon would. So it's going to be about a 4-inch recess in here, and this is what I intend to have it setting on. So this is going pretty well. I need to come in here just a little bit more, or maybe not. It isn't really important that it's 100% all the way around. You can see that would be the only place that it's not touching is between there and there. So I'll just keep on going the way I'm going. I want to mark out for my larger tenon, as I said, so I'm just going to use my dividers for that. It's the easiest way for the large one. I'm just going to rest the left side against the wood and see if the right side matches up. Looks like. like about there. Okay, so you can see the right side is not touching, but it is matching up. Now I'll just apply some pressure on the left side here and make my mark for my recess. We'll come back and cut the recess a little bit later. I want to go back over here and finish up whatever it is I'm doing on the rest of the bottom. Still at 400 RPM. I'm just trying to get something that resembles a clean cut on all this punkiness. You know, I'm not going to worry about it too much. What'll happen here is that's just not going to clean up. You can see it just flakes away. I could put CA on it. I could put shellac on it. I've done both. I don't like the results of either most of the time, and this is particularly bad. So what I'm going to do is just sand this, and because it's so soft, it's going to sink in, and we're going to have a gap in here. But it's hardwood here, and it's hardwood here. It's hardwood over here. This is not as bad as that is over there, so this will probably be okay. Won't be great, but it'll be okay. We're just going to live. We're just going to live with it. That's all. I could put wood hardener on there. I don't like wood hardener. I own wood hardener, 2 different brands. I don't like either one of them. I don't like the way it makes the wood feel. It gives it kind of a plasticky feel, so I just don't use it anymore for this kind of thing. It's great for construction work or repairing something outside. I've used it on a gazebo before. It worked great, looks fine. Who cares what it feels like on a gazebo? But on something like this, I want to be able to feel the wood, not plastic. Anyway, so I'm just going to leave this, and I guess I'm going to leave that as well. And just let what happens, happens, that's all. We'll live through it, I'll bet you. Now I gotta try and clean up my cuts right in here, and it's just so difficult. I could use a scraper instead of my gouge, but a scraper's just gonna tear this punky stuff, just tear it up. The gouge is way sharper than a scraper is, so I'll do some shear scraping over here and whatever I have to do to get it better than it is. That's probably about as good as I'm going to get it. That's going to sand up real easy. And our base is probably as good as I can get that as well. Yeah, I think we're done. I'm not going to turn, well, at least from the bottom side, I'm not going to turn any part of the side. I don't know if I'm going to until I get it turned around and start working on the top side. But for now, we're going to leave everything here and just concentrate on the bottom. So, time for sanding. Well, don't get in such a rush, Phil, you big stoop. We're going to put the recess in there. Gee whiz, how could I forget that? Now I'm going to try my recess tool to put a dovetail on the outside edge of this. Okay, that's not half bad. Not half good. It's deeper than I want it to be, but that's because I'm going to take away a little bit of the height of the wood around it. And I'm doing that because I want it to set on this here. So when I put this across here, it's actually hitting my straight edge right in this area. So I need to take that height down so that it's below or above that way from this. Yep, that's going to work just fine. Now it's time for sanding. Oh boy. I did a little bit of spot sanding on this outside edge to get rid of some of my tool marks. And what I mean by that is I just, without the piece turning, I just did that until I got most of them. The rest of them will come off while the piece is turning. And speaking of turning, we're going to be turning at 350 RPM. I'm going to use an 80 grit disc and work up through 400 grit. And I'll show you what that looks like as soon as I get my mask on. So that's in reverse. I'll do forward as well. Again, up through 400 grit. I'll bring you back here in a bit and we'll put some sanding sealer on there. See you in a bit. I'd really appreciate it if you'd let me know in the comments what you think of the piece at this point and then what you think of the piece at the end. To me, this is looking pretty good. But I've had a lot of time to touch it, run my hand over it, and be amazed at how smooth it actually is. It's still, I suppose some folks think this is pretty ugly, but look at this. Look at that. So I don't know. I'd really like to know what you think. And you don't have to, don't try and make me feel good. I don't care about that. I want to know what you think. Would you just give up? Would you just throw it on the fire or what? And this is obviously going to take a whole lot of brushing. I just like to get a base coat on here first. That keeps the brush strokes from showing. So some of this is going to be quite nice looking. You know, the harder parts of the wood, and you can tell which parts those are. Kind of light brown, reddish brown, whatever you might call that, I don't know. That'll be nice and shiny, and the rest of it, no matter how much I put on here, it's just going to soak right in. So I've just got some, oh, this is sanding sealer, shellac based sanding sealer. And I'm just going to brush probably the whole dang thing. Everything I've turned anyway so far. But see, doesn't that look better already? Yes, it does. You know it does. Don't give me no baloney. And then I like to come back with a rag with more sanding sealer on it to wipe up those brush strokes before it gets dry. You got to work quickly. Yeah, that's amazingly better. I'm not saying it's good yet, but it's amazingly better. I can see where a second coat is really got to make quite the difference. And that will come tomorrow. So I'm going to do the same thing on these flat spots, and then I'm going to go in the house and cook my dinner. So I'll see you tomorrow after I get another coat of this on. I don't know if I'll put the shellac on before I turn the inside, the top side. I don't know. But I'll have 2 coats of sanding sealer at least on here. So see you tomorrow. I have the piece turned around with the chuck expanded into the recess. I've got this piece here that I need to worry about. I could just cut it off and get it out of my way, but you know, it's kind of cool looking. I'm trying to get an animal out of it. If it's anything, it's a grizzly bear that lost a big old fight with an alien, I think. I don't know, it doesn't look like much else. Maybe a teenage mutant ninja turtle. I don't know about that either. But anyway, I probably will end up cutting away about half of it, or a third of it, something like that. But I can't go too much further than that or I'll run off the edge over here. And of course we have a thin depth here and a thick depth over here. So it's just going to be fun, and I can still only turn it about 460 RPM. 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. Well, that was a lucky guess. I can't really see it, but that's about the amount I planned on. And I'm not hitting anything but that. What a pain in the butt. Kind of slow going. Whew. Okay, that's just about exactly what I had in mind. Well, now I can get a little bit closer. Not much. See if I can go any bigger here. I don't think so. No, nope. That's quite thin right there. But it's going to be a beauty. I just want to check and see where we are depth-wise here. We can go another ½ inch or so. You know, I'm going to go sharpen it. I'll be right back. I can go a little bit deeper and then maybe scrape or maybe shear scrape with my gouge. I want to try my scraper now and then continue with the gouge, but I'm going to try this just to see if it's going to work or if it's going to tear it up. Sometimes when the wood is kind of soft and punky, it just tears it up. We'll try while we still have room to fix it. I think that did okay. It did indeed. Even on the punky parts, not bad. Okay, well, we'll go a little bit deeper. Now that cut I just made, if you're a newbie, don't do that, okay? Don't do that. It can just result in here's what would happen. You're coming along, it's all good. Once you get over here, oh my God. Now if you're applying a lot of pressure, which I am, to make this cut, and then it slips, or you hit a soft spot and it gouges in there, oh my God, this thing's gonna go up in the air and it's gonna ruin your cut and it's gonna probably hit you in the cheek or something. Don't make that cut. I just don't recommend it at all. Come this way. This is the correct way. Sometimes it's just easier to come this way, but it's dangerous. So if you're a newbie, don't do it. I know what can happen because I've done it. That's how I know it's a bad idea. I know what can happen. So as I get over here, I'm easing up on my cut. I'm almost pulling back instead of pressing in, but I'm easing up, because this is just the danger zone right in there. This isn't too bad, right up to about here, but this is bad news. I think we're about where we want to be. Yeah, about 1/4 inch. That's acceptable. I still have to scrape it. I'm pretty dang happy with that. So, let's scrape it. We did it! We did it, and we're glad. Time for sanding. I'm going to start sanding with my Sandoflex 180 grit, and that's as fine as I'll go on that. And I'm going to sand all of the bark. I wish I would have done it earlier, because now I have to be careful. You know, I've got finished here and finished here and finished over here, so I have to be careful I don't mess that up. But anyway, got to do it. When I'm done with that, I'll switch to my 2-inch disc starting at 80 grit, working up through 400 on all the turn parts, and I'll show you what those look like as soon as I get my mask on. And I'll be doing a little bit more of that, but that'll clean it up and smooth it out, make it feel real good and look good without changing how it appears. Doesn't change the bark at all, just makes it clean and nice. And then with the lathe spinning forward at about 360, and again working up through 400 grit, and I'll be back here in a little bit and we'll put some sanding sealer on there. See you in a bit. Well, I was very surprised with the finish I got on the outside of this piece, so I'm hoping for more of the same on the inside here. And this is a sanding sealer. It's called Zinser Seal Coat. It's shellac based sanding sealer. And an advantage to this particular brand, this seal coat, is that it's de-waxed. It's basically thinned shellac, but it's also de-waxed. If you were to put thin shellac on here, it would still have wax in it, and then when you try to put on a finish coat, because of the wax, it won't spread as nicely, and it won't penetrate as well. So it's important to have de-waxed shellac as a sealer. And I don't sell it, and I don't get anything for telling you that. I'm just telling you so you'll know, that's all. I also get asked about it quite a bit. I've been using it for as long as it's been on the market, I think. I think it came on the market about 30 years ago, something like that. And I wasn't a wood turner at the time, but I did use shellac for the finish on some of my woodwork, and it's just a good product, that's all. Now when I start putting this on the bark, that's when you're gonna really see everything pop, because it's going to turn the bark darker, and it's going to be a wonderful contrast with this lighter wood. And I think it's really important to come behind the brush with your rag with some more sanding sealer on it and spread it around real quick before that has a chance to set up, and you'll do away with any brush marks you might have put on there. I have to be really careful I don't go over this outside edge where I already have nicely finished shellac out there. See that? Isn't that nice? And this bark is just real smooth, real clean, no sharp edges, nothing to get caught on, thanks to the Sandoflex. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 coats of this on. This is the first coat. 2 coats of sanding sealer, and then 2 coats of shellac over that. So when I get all that on here, I'm going to bring you back. See you tomorrow. Have a really groovy evening. Be sure you stick around to the end of the video so you can see the before and after shots of this piece. I'm sure there's quite a difference between what we started with and what we ended up with. If you'd share the video, wow, that would be really cool. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Well, here it is, one of my new favorites, a hazelnut live edge bowl in the books. You see how the ends are upswept so you can easily pick it up off the table? I'm just surprised at how well it finished up, even with all that punkiness. It just looks pretty dang good to me. I like it a lot. It's just a pleasing shape to me. I'm not sure why. Kind of a shallow bowl. The outside dimensions didn't change because we didn't turn anything out there. So it's still, I can't remember, 10 by 11, something like that, 10 by 11. Still about 4 inches on this end, I think, and 3 inches on this end. Something like that. What do you think? I think it looks great. Nice tight bark. I love that. I just love that. I really want this animal to look like an animal. Whoops. This knot to look like an animal or look like something, but I just can't quite get there. You see anything in it? I don't see it. I want it to. This was probably the most rotten part of the piece, and it still turned out semi-shiny. It really soaked up the sealer and the shellac, I can tell you that. I did leave saw marks in there on purpose. That's just part of the history of the bowl. Both ends. It's just cool. Nice texture. And speaking of texture, the punkiness does have a texture to it, but it's super smooth. It's just as smooth as this, but it's slightly textured. And that's just kind of a nice feel. Kind of tickles your fingertips as you run them around there. I just really like it. I just really hope you like it as much as I do. Thank you, Dave, from Calmwood Creations, for sending this along for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, holy cow, you are totally cool. Thank you so much for that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one so that you can be totally cool too. An easy way to subscribe is just click my picture you see there near the end of the video. Your comments are most welcome and I totally love reading them. Thank you so much for taking the time to leave one. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.